Hello everyone! We just had a new live letter and this time it was all about patch 6.4. In this video I'm gonna go over what was shown in the live letter so you do not have to watch a 3-hour stream if you don't want to. Sadly, I don't speak Japanese, so there could always be some nuance or some little information I missed. But here we should have at least all of the major details ready for you to view. If you're only interested in some of the stuff, I will have timestamps in the description so you can jump to the area you are most interested in. But let's get into it. First of all, the patch The Dark Throne is coming out on May 23rd. So you have 2 weeks to finish whatever you're trying to do, be it the PvP, the Mughal tombstones, or whatever else you wanna have prepared before the patch comes out. Now the first thing we're gonna talk about is the main story and the instances coming with the new patch. So if you're not really here in the story yet and you want to avoid any possible spoilers, then go jump to the next section in the video. So spoilers are incoming in 3, 2, 1. Obviously in patch 6.4 we are going to continue on with the main scenario quest, which this time around seems to include a trial and potentially a dungeon, which we will talk about later. We will also be continuing our adventure with Tataru in her grand endeavor. And in patch 6.45, we are getting more Hildebrand questlines. If you don't really remember what was happening last time we were playing the main story, or Tataru's adventure, or Hildebrand, before the patch comes out, I'm going to be releasing a video with sort of a story refresher for all of these things, along with the raid. Another thing that's coming in 6.45 is we are getting an upgrade to the Mandeville weapons and the Splendorous tools. So you still have time to upgrade everything you got so far, so you can be nice and ready for the next update. I, for one, have quite a bit of Splendorous tools left to do. In patch 6.4, probably related to the main story, we are getting a new dungeon. This time it is the Ether Font. And is said that north of Sierra mainland lies the verdant Isle of Ham, a land protected by the Forum as an academic asset due to its abundant wells of ether. I believe we will go to this dungeon through the main story to deal with some of the consequences of what happened at the end of 6.3. Now there is no surprise that we are also getting a new trial, which is the Voidcast Days. This is what we've been working at so far to face Golbez in battle. This will also most likely unlock through the story. And like with all trials, we are both getting a regular one and an extreme. Now if you're just interested in other type of raids, we do have a new Unreal trial coming in, which is the Containment Bay 71T9 or Sovereign. This is the third of the warring triads which we have been fighting over the last few patches. If you intend to farm this one, it could be a good idea to check out his extreme, maybe on Synced, to try it out and refresh yourself on the tactics. But talking about raiding, we are getting the final chapter to the Pandemonium. This time it's Pandemonium Anabasaios, which will come out in regular and Savage version. The regular is coming out on the 23rd, but the Savage version will come out a week after the patch releases, which is on the 30th. Now this raid here, there's going to be some changes to the reward structure they've been doing in the Savage raid. Coffers will not reward duplicate armor pieces for the same slot, and body gear can be earned from Anabisos, the 11th circle. A single treasure coffer will appear at the end of each Pandemonium Anabasios Savage encounter, and the reward quantity will be unchanged from previous tiers, which just means rewards will be reduced if 1 to 4 players have already completed the duty, and there will be no reward if 5 or more players have completed it. This seems to be the same system that has been going on. I don't raid Savage, so I don't know, but I hope it makes sense to you guys. They are also adding in an Anabasisos Mythos exchange. I'm just gonna post this on the screen, and I'm just gonna trust that those of you who actually do Savage raiding know what's happening. So if you want to look at it, pause the screen, but I'm gonna move on. But talking about gear, with new raid, we are obviously gonna get new gear, and for some reason, they always seem to forget that they're having like a slideshow when they decide to show gear or new items or weapons. So the gear is shown on printout papers. I've tried to blow this up the best I can to make it visible, but the quality is always gonna suffer because I am screenshotting A4 papers Yoshi P is holding like semi-steadily in front of the camera. Now it's time to talk about the new variant and Criterion dungeon. Yes, this time around it is time we get a second variant and Criterion dungeon. This one is called Mount Rockon and will have 3 levels of difficulty: the normal, the Criterion, and the Criterion Savage. And make note, you do not have to finish the Sildin Subterranean to unlock this one. If you haven't finished that one or just don't have really any interest in doing that, it is not a prerequisite to do this one. Now, things haven't really changed much with the variant dungeon. When you go into the normal version, you can go in a party of 1 to 4 people. If you want to sign up to be Mage, you will always end up in a party of 4 people, but there are no role restrictions, and job changes are permitted within the dungeon itself. Enemy strength is determined by the party size, and the route of progression branches based on player actions. There will be duty actions like before, which are meant to compensate for role imbalances. You will have access to 2 at a time, but you can change them mid-duty, which is really handy. Here are the actions we are getting. Make note, some actions are limited to certain roles. These are simply limited basically to the roles that don't have that action, like the variant cure cannot be picked up by healers because healers already have a healing spell. But with this, you should be able to come in with any compositions of classes and simply adjust on the fly with the actions. Now the Criterion dungeon unlocks after you finish Mount Rockon, and this is a level 90 high difficulty challenge for 4-player parties. This one does have the requirement of having 1 tank, 1 healer and 2 DPS, like in regular dungeons. This dungeon will look like the variant dungeon, but you are not picking a path in this one. The route is predetermined and there is no NPC accompanying you. The Criterion dungeons are called Another Mount Rockon and Another Mount Rockon Savage, and while the basic Criterion dungeon is difficult, the Savage version is there to give even more challenge for those of you who enjoy that. So the thing that makes Criterion dungeons really difficult is normal methods of resurrections are prohibited, but each player is granted limited uses of Variant Race 2, which is the only variant action actually allowed in that instance, meaning you have limited times that you can be rushing people, making this a very interesting challenge. But it's in the Savage where things get really difficult, because there they don't have any resurrection at all. And if the entire party goes KO, well, all of the enemies in the instance are just gonna come back to life to ruin your day, which sounds like it could be really frustrating. But for those who enjoy a really heavy challenge like this sounds like a really fun thing to do. One extra challenge is that enemies actually become stronger if not defeated with a certain time limit, so bring some good DPS, some good healing, and a formidable tank to take on the damage. Now some quality of life improvements. Like in the previous patches, they have been adding to the duty support. This time the support is for the entire release story of Stormblood. So now you can go with NPCs through the Siren Song Sea, Bardam's Metal, Doma Castle, Castor Mabania, and Alamigo. Meaning we are really close to having duty support for every MSQ dungeon so far. I think the only thing we're actually missing is the post-release dungeons of Stormblood, and then we've finished everything. Now they've also made some job adjustments. We of course won't know exactly what these are until we get the patch notes, but they say they primarily made balance adjustment to damage output within each role and had no large-scale changes implemented. They did though extend the radius of several party buffs to 30 alms, and here they're talking mainly about buffs that contribute to increased damage dealt or reduced damage taken. They've also improved the ability of certain job actions. For example, the Paladin Execution of Atonement will no longer interrupt a combo, and the dragon jump and high jump will no longer affect the character's position as recognized by the server. In accordance with the changes, both actions can now be performed while bound. This sounds really handy. Now, time for some PvP. The biggest changes are coming to the Field of Glory. They are both changing the terrain, meaning the map is actually changing, and the acquisition of score is also changing. So, elegant tomelyths have been removed and thus can no longer be occupied for data. Larger and small icebound tomelyths will now respawn, and data acquired from defeating other players is unchanged. So it just seems the elegant tomelyths are leaving, so we focus more on just going for the little icebound tomelyths instead. Now, Season 4 of PvP is starting, and Season 7 of the Crystalline Conflict. Take note, if you manage to place within the top 100 ranking of the Diamond tier at the start of Season 7, you are actually getting an extra reward, which includes an item that will allow you to apply an effect to the Hellhound weapons. A few more frontline adjustments. There is a new UI element displaying match time and score. They are adjusting the limit gauge, fill rate, damage dealt, and damage taken on a job per job basis. The daily challenge frontline will now also award a series XP, and the Borderland ruins are temporarily going to be unavailable for changes. Now to some more fun changes. Do you like a blue mage? Have you been collecting all your spells? Are you already level 17? And you have just finished off the Masked Carnival and now you don't know what to do? Well, now you can rejoice as the level cap is being raised from 70 to 80. This of course includes new spells and new exclusive gear, new enemies to the Masked Carnival, and new duties added to the Blue Mage log. Just make note that the changes to the Blue Mage are not coming till patch 6.45. There are two more casual updates coming in the patch. One of them is update to the ocean fishing. They are adding a new route towards Kigane, and there will of course be some island sanctuary updates, which I'm gonna talk about in a minute. But first, some minor changes. The elegant tombstone of comedy will be added. For scholars, you are actually getting fairy glamour now, so you can select from Eos, Selene, or a carbuncle if you don't want to have a fairy. The maximum number of gear sets is being increased to 100, and you will get the access to these 100 sets no matter where you are in your story progression. And when in a party or an alliance, now job icons will be displayed in the chat log next to the player's nameplate. On the market board, the transactional fee for items sold on the market board can now be incorporated into their total price, displaying under total, which is very handy. And if you like glasses and wings fashion accessories, they will now display when engaged in battle in the overworld. Oh, that is so exciting. We are gonna see winged people all over the place. I for one am just excited I can wear more glasses. And if you're in your inn when trying to make a glamour, you can actually use gear stored in a variety of locations, including the glamour dresser and the armor, without opening them up, which is going to be very handy. With the Tombstones of Comedy, we're getting a new weapon for every job. These are actually from the weapon design contest, but these are all designed by players like you. And gosh, do they not look amazing? I for one am most excited for the Black Mage weapon, the White Mage weapon, and the Sage weapon, which I haven't really played, but that weapon just looks so pretty. And even the Blue Mage is getting a new weapon in the form of an umbrella, which is just perfect. We are also getting new gear sets, which look, well, kinda plain, to be honest. They're not my style, but you might like them. Along with all of the new pretty gear we're getting in this patch, we are also getting some great new crafted gear. Some of this gear seems to be role specific, and at least one set seems to be just for everybody, though it could potentially be gender locked. I am hoping not, but we will see what it's going to be like when it releases. But if you like crafting outfits, you got something interesting waiting for you. Now it's time to talk about the Island Sanctuary, because we are getting some important changes there. First of all, we are getting new Sanctuary ranks and visions. We are getting a new gathering area in the wild. We are getting a new construction plot in the hideaway. We are getting some new item rewards, new material, craftable items, crops, animals, and ironwork handicrafts, and of course new structures. But what is most exciting is we can now place furniture in our hideaway. At maximum island rank, you will have 90 slots to play with. And you can only place outdoor furniture. Keep in mind though that special furniture like striking dummies and gardens will not be supported. To place them on the island is a little bit different than at your house. You are actually placing them as a glamour. And if I'm understanding it correctly, you can actually place the same item multiple times using a single glamour, so you don't have to buy multiple versions of the same item, which is really handy. And of course, you can change the color of your furnishing with dyes. The system seems to work pretty much the same, except now we're using glamours to place them. And with that, we are also getting new furnishing items. We are getting some indoor items and some lovely outdoor items that will look great on our island. These are some really big pieces, which I think are going to fit well on the island, and probably better on the island than in most of our gardens, which are just a little bit too small sometimes. So this is going to be super handy. Now the developers ended the streams by showing off some new mounts and new minions. So let's look at the mounts. First of all is this amazing looking bed. It is the same base model as the other flying bed we have in game, except it's cuter and I need it. I don't know how much I would use it to fly around because it's still really big and bulky, but it's very cute. We are also getting an axolot mount and I need that. It is so cute. It is so small. I think it's going to be hilarious seeing like Rogadins on a gigantic axolot. I cannot wait for it. And then we get a mount that looks like some sort of a flying lantern that has eaten us. And we're just kind of chilling inside of it. That is a choice. I don't know where these mounts come from, but they all look really interesting. And finally, we are getting another vegetable friend from our island, so you can definitely look forward to that one on the island. I don't know if the other ones are also island mounts. We will have to see as we get into the game. The final mount they showed was this really funny little mount that looks like it's made by the Loporits. Like with the current Loporit mount, it changes quite drastically depending on if you are riding it on the ground or if you're flying. And it does this little like weird flip when it changes between, which had the developers just giggling so much during the stream, which I think was really cute. We're also getting a few more minions. We are getting a cute little monkey, which looks adorable. We are getting this flying statue, which I don't know what it is, but it is there. We are getting an otter, looking very snazzy in his top hat and his vest. And finally, we're getting a new good boy, this time a ninja version. And that is the live letter. Now, of course, most of this is coming out in patch 6.4. Few of these things are coming out in patch 6.45. And before the patch is coming out, I'm going to be making a story refresher both for the raid and for the main story. So keep an eye on that. Make sure to subscribe now and press the notification bell so YouTube actually tells you when that is out. Otherwise, please do all the good YouTube stuff. Make a comment, it makes the algorithm really happy and makes me even happier. But for now, thank you so much for watching and I hope you have a lovely day.